Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to you.
Happy Father's Day to everyone out there in the chat. We'll see who we got running around here. See if I can find them all. We got Sammy was out there or may still be. Dickie Foster. Jesus.
Jesus.
Will with 217.
Going on, Will?
My wife's out working. Some guy there, I'm not sure who he is. And the
That's
heathen
Brian.
had you. So you under the weather a little bit?
Pulling to the front. Just been pretty tired today, so is what it is,
It happens like that. You had a good Father's Day, kids doing things. What's going on?
My kids are scattered all over the place, man. My daughter is actually on a road trip to California. She's going out there for an ice skating competition. One of my sons is in the next room. Another is at his mother's place in the other part of the state. I haven't heard from him yet today.
I got you. Well, like I was telling you, backstage, one of my boys took me to dinner Friday. My daughter cooked for us yesterday. My youngest is taking me to dinner to have an elk steak tonight, and then my oldest son's coming over when we get home. So Father's Day is really important to me. Having a father in your life is of the utmost importance, I believe. Mine passed in 1970. I was a little over 4 years old, and I have a older half brother who lived in a stable home and had a good stepfather and things. And the differences in life was just amazing because of that one steady factor in his life. So
Yeah.
It's amazing sometimes how little things like that works out. Are you and your father close, or is he still alive?
I lost my dad a little over a decade ago. I truthfully lost him a few years before that. He had a cardiac incident that had caused some brain damage, which ultimately led to dementia. And that was a slow, painful process. I don't wish that on anyone.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's a lot of pains in life that I wish no one had to face, but it happens.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you and the wife get started and involved in the reptile world?
It's her fault.
All her fault.
I was 46 years old when I got my first snake. Wife was coming home from, I don't know, she'd been on a work trip or something. She was on her way home and she called me. She said, "So, I did a thing." I said, "Oh, yeah, what kind of thing?" She said, "Well, I'm going to show you when you get there, but I don't want you to be shocked by it or surprised by it, but she came home with a ball python."
Nice.
And in that moment, I asked her, would you spend on it? And I think she paid something like $600 for it at the time, and this was 2021.
Yeah.
I was like, "You spent how much on a ball python?" Now, several years later, I can't say that to her anymore because I have spent far more. But I didn't have a close experience with them. I had just I got injured at work and was going through some health issues that I was on my back, or laid up with physical therapy and surgeries and stuff like that for a better part of a year, almost two. and I was just not in a great spot. But through playing around with her snake some, I told her, I said, I think I'd like to try to get one of my own. So I was okay.
Right.
We went to pet shop that's kind of local to us, and just so happens that one of the owners is a breeder, and they had a quite a selection there. Went there and picked out. I was kind of torn between the corn snake and the ball python at first. Kind
Right.
of two of them there that I fell in love with. Um, so my wife was like, "Yeah, can't decide. We'll get both." So went home with two snakes that day, and that was the start of my addiction. Um, I think now we're upwards of 200 in the house right
Right.
now.
It's kind of like Lay's
I,
potato chips. You can't just have one.
you can't. I learned. As I said, I was in a dark place then. I was struggling a bit. Um, my life had changed in ways that I had never foreseen, and was just trying to work my way through that, and kind of lost myself to it for a while.
I understand
But
that.
I found that through just sitting and watching TV, listening to radio, with a snake in my hands, it really helped me to pull myself out of that to get back in and focus, and was able to pull myself out of a pretty shitty mindset. Um, so that's kind of where I started my journey with them. And, I remember telling my wife, I said, I think I'd like to try my hand at breeding. At that point, I'd been trying to educate myself on my snake, and I've been watching all kinds of videos, Justin Gabelka, Chris Hardwick, all those. And I told her, if they're able to do this for me, I would like to be able to have the ability to share this with someone else. And she said, okay. And away with it we went. We went to Daytona that year, picked up 12, 13 animals, and started down the path of collecting the genes that we wanted to put together.
Nice.
So,
Did you buy adults at that point, or did you buy juveniles to grow out, or what?
no, I mean, I didn't know enough at that point to go straight for the adults. I did manage once I was starting to do the math of the time it was going to take. I did manage to pick up a few adults, but they were hard to come by at that time because that was right in that time that ball pythons were
Out of the
super
world.
expensive. Yeah, and everything we were buying, we didn't have the funds to start off with visual to visual pairings and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. We started off with head to head and kind of built our collection as we're going, and we're still waiting on some of those to grow up. I'm not someone who believes in power feeding these animals. I'm
Right.
not. I mean, can you get a male ball python so it can breed in a year? Yeah, you sure can.
Yeah.
Is that healthy for that animal? Absolutely not. And I'm not going to listen to anyone who says it is. It's
Right.
just, it's not natural. And the same with the females. My females typically tend to lean more toward the 4-year mark before they're at a weight that I'm comfortable to breed them.
Gotcha.
I'm just, you have to take consideration of these animals' internal organs and things like that when you're feeding. And if you're just shoving all that fat in them constantly, you're just taking years off the life of your animals, and that's not what I got to do.
I don't think some people realize that when a ball python, I guess more snakes than that, but when they eat, their organs all enlarge during
Right.
that point in time to handle that process. And I can see that if you're feeding them quite frequently or very large meals, that never they never go back to normal.
Right.
So you end up like people like me who's overweight their life, and you get enlarged hearts and things like that. I'm sure it's not much dissimilar to them.
Sure. And there's there's two sides of that coin, right? You get those that don't realize, and you know, with ball pythons, honestly, it seems through what I have read that they tolerate it better than other species. Like, you know, if you try to feed, like I've got carpet pythons too, and if you try to feed them the way you do a ball python, forget it. You're gonna kill that animal.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much more severe swelling that goes on in their organs as they're digesting their meals. Now they can handle quite large meals for their body size,
Right.
but still, it's you want to give them a full 2-3 weeks in between to process that meal before you try to feed them up again, for sure.
Yeah. I've got 3 carpets right now. I've got a IJ, the Papalan carpet
Mm-hmm.
python. I've got a coastal, and then I've got a brettle.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all female. So after a few years, I'll get a male and start working on growing him up. I'm sure that I'll keep the Papalan pure. It's a F1 kind of thing. The other 2, I have no lineage on, so it doesn't matter to me because I don't know what I would be keeping on anyway.
Yeah, I've got a few. I've got my first one was a male that I got from Jeremy Warfel.
Right.
That's a male jungle. I also have a female jungle that I got from him. And I have another adult male jungle that I picked up um, from a pet shop. But man, he had some health issues when he came to me, and it took us a while to get him back up to health, but he's back up and doing well now and healthy. I never really had much intention of breeding him, but he's really chill. He's a laid back snake, and you don't hear of many people, you know, who would take a carpet python out and let people handle it at a show. But we
Right.
use him as an ambassador animal. He's just that chill. He's just
Yeah.
he breaks the rules for carpet python.
Mine's not bad. I've got bit by the brettle one time, but it was my fault completely. I knew she was kind of edgy when I reached in to grab her, but I
Hmm.
didn't care. You know,
Hmm.
she latched onto me and wrapped my arm, but it wasn't painful. It didn't hurt or anything.
Yeah.
The
The
only
male
one,
that I got from Jeremy, I let him choose me, and he tried to, or actually, he did bite me 5 times in the first 30 seconds that I pulled the door open at Jeremy's house. And I said, "That's the one I want." He said, "Man, are you sure?" He said, "He's a little feisty." Yes, yeah, that's the one I want. Took him, work with him, man. He's puppy dog tame now. I could go in his enclosure day or night, anytime, as long as there's not the smell of rats in the air. He's
right?
good, and I don't have to worry about catching an advert bite from him or anything. The female that I got from Jeremy, I'm still working with her. I don't trust her quite yet. I'll take her out and I'll work with her, but I don't take my eyes off of her because she will take a shot at my face if she gets the
Gotcha.
opportunity.
I had one of my red stripe girls get me in the face again, completely my fault. But I dropped the rat in, and about the time it hit, she struck and it jumped, and I was gonna call myself bending over there to knock it back in the, keep it in the rack,
Hmm.
and put myself in the way. But it
Hey,
was,
Duval, don't worry about it, bro.
yeah, buddy, you're out doing dad stuff and family stuff, and you know that's always first, brother. We appreciate you no matter what. Yeah, I have noticed with my carpets though that their food drive seems to be much higher when they check into that mode.
Oh yeah, when it's go time with them, it's go time, and you want to you want you. I like to say that, you know, every one of these animals has lessons that we can learn from them. And if we don't take heed to those lessons, they have another way of teaching us.
True.
And that's very much true with the carpets. That's one of the things that I love about them is you have to pay attention. You have to be on your A game and reading your animals.
True,
Um,
100%. Like I said,
because
I
if
knew
you're not,
when she tagged me, I knew I was going to get tagged. You just,
yeah.
but Yeah, he shot for the rack, completely missed, and got my hand. It happens like that, buddy. It happens like that sometimes. Uh, the blood python I got from Bosa. Now she's puppy dog tame, but I'm still in that scared part. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and they've got a reputation that kind of warrants that because that's a fast strike on those animals, and if if you're not paying attention and you're not on your A game, it's learning time.
That might hurt pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
I've heard that a full-grown one could break your wrist on a strike, but I don't know.
That sounds extreme to me. I mean, boas they hit hard. My wife's got a BCI that God, she hits with all of her weight when she hits a meal, but I don't know. It takes a lot of force to do something like that.
Yeah, well, these blood pythons are pretty thick, pretty strong.
They are.
So today being Father's Day, we'll ask some Father's Day questions today. As soon as I get back to where my phone was at. To you, what does Father's Day mean to you personally? Both as a father and as a son, yes.
I don't know. I guess it's meant more to me as a son than it did as a father. It's just a moment to pause and appreciate the things that you have in that person who steps into that role. So I met the man I called my dad when I was 2 years old.
Gotcha.
And he stepped up to the plate and raised me as his own, and raised me in a way that he didn't have to. And our relationship in my teen years was strained a bit. His job took him out of town a lot, and I didn't have the forethought or understanding or inward reflection at the time, maybe even maturity, to recognize that I acted out a lot as a result of that. To be honest, that's been an epiphany that's only come to me in the last year or two. Just being able to sit back and reflect on it, and our relationship suffered as a result of that some. And then we started to get back and rebuild that some, and then his health issues just came and kind of took him from me all over again. So it's always been a sore spot,
Yes, I do. I can understand. What was one of your favorite moments with your dad?
Man. He was a offshore clam boat captain. When he met my mother, he was a police officer. And he left that not long after. And then he got working on offshore clam boats, and he was a captain of one of those boats for most of my life. And he kind of taught me everything I know about, navigating waters and fishing and being out on the waters. And any time that I was able to get out with him doing that, those were always my best memories. Like anytime he had to take that boat to like the railway for service or anything like that, he would often take me with him and let me steer the ship back into to the dock and all. Steer the ship, it was a boat, but that was, those are the things that stick with you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I guess mine, of course, like I say, my father died when I was real young. I was a little over 4, but before he went in the Army, our family owned a coal mine in Kentucky. So, he grew up working in that, went to the military, and went to Korea for a couple of tours and things, and came home and then went back to work. But this time driving tractor and trailers, hauling mining equipment to the mines and stuff, like the continuous mining equipment,
Hmm.
machines and things like that. And I can remember, I think I remember, sometimes it's hard to, do I remember this, or is this something that someone's told me that I've incorporated? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But it seems that I can remember going with him in the truck, and as a kid, you got to stop at the bathroom every 10 minutes, and that's not in the trucker's life.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
we learned how to use the bathroom in bottles and things like that. But it was a great time because I was with my dad,
Yeah,
you know. And even my stepfather, even though quite different than yours, uh, he was a very violent man, but he did teach me a lot of good things. Like I was watching something earlier today, and we buy things today and they tear up, people throw them away. Well, when you and I were growing up, people bought stuff and it tore up, you tried to fix it, or you found a way to fix it.
hmm,
And I think that was something very important that he taught me, learning how to repair things, how to work on things, how to take care of my own vehicles, how to build things and things like that. And then on the emotional side, of course, I learned exactly how not to act,
hmm.
you know. So you can make a good situation, or there's learning in every situation, good or bad. You
Yeah,
just have to decide to look back at it. And as you said earlier, as we get a little bit older, it seems like we think about things a little bit different.
for
And,
sure.
we look back and say, I was being a real asshole for some reason, and it didn't make it, there was no need to be that way. And it definitely happens for sure. In your opinion, Greg, what qualities make a great father?
Ugh, patience. God knows patience.
Definitely. Definitely.
You know, you have to be patient. You have to understand. As a father now, I can look back. I've got my youngest two just graduated college this year. One's getting ready to go into the police academy. He's going to be a Marine Patrol officer for the state.
Nice.
Yeah, I really wish that he'd chosen a path that was going to allow him to do more with his degree, but he seems excited about it, so I'll support him in it. And honestly, he'll be third generation law enforcement for our family. So
Right.
he is the boy that I raised him to be, whether I like it or not.
And you
So
said it's in the Marine Service, so you can be out patrolling the waterways and things, or
yep, yep.
man, you can't beat that.
No, and then he enjoys that. And that's one of the things that I'm grateful and fortunate that I was able to share with my kids was my father's love for the water and mine as well. And I've always felt like that was when I was closest to my dad, was when I was out on the water, whether I was with
Yeah.
him or even now in my older years. That's where I feel his presence the most. Which is, to the next thing is, you've got to be able to teach. You've got to be able to. I read something one time that I'm trying to recall what the quote was, but it's to the effect of teach them when they're as young as you can the things that you didn't learn until you were much much older,
Yeah.
to try to save them the difficulty from making the mistakes that you made. Now my son is my son through and through, and every bit of headstrong stubbornness and I'm going to do things my way that I have in me, I could have just poured it in a bottle down his throat, because he's got every bit of it. So he's going to have to find his own path, and I recognize myself in him enough to realize that I have to let him do that.
Yeah.
Because the more I try to struggle with that and buck against that, the more I'll lose him. So
My three boys and my daughter are all the same way. They're spitting image of me, uh, emotionally, physically. They love hard, fight hard, and are hard headed. For sure. But I've learned, one of the, I guess, being with Father's Day, being a grandfather is part of that as well, for me anyway. And one of the best things I think I've been able to do as a father is when the grandkids are with me, they have the same exact rules they do when they're with their parents. Maybe a little stricter. Uh, I see a lot of grandparents and things. You go to a restaurant, you see and hear a lot of things. But I was at Cracker Barrel for breakfast one morning, and there's a group of grandparents sitting there talking about how they can't believe that their children want them to watch their grandchildren or look after them and things like that. And they're not babysitters and this and that. But I think they're missing out because that's some of the greatest times of my life, having those kids here with me. My oldest one is going into high school this year, and he has been with me every day since the summer break started, and probably will be here every day till school starts back. That's just what he prefers, and
Mhm.
they love the snake room. They all love to come play with the snakes, even the little ones. Uh, but I've had to learn. I was really hard on the two older because I was a young dad. I was in my 20s, and then their mother passed away when we were in our 30s, and I remarried and started over. So I've got two sets of children, and the two younger boys, I'm sure I was a lot easier on because I guess as you get older, you realize some things are just not as important as you think they are.
Yeah.
Your wisdom changes a little bit, and you handle things in a different way
Yeah.
as you get older,
Sure.
for sure. Uh, did your
Well,
Go ahead?
you learn as you go, right? I mean,
Right.
you make the mistakes along the way, and you look back on things and say, I probably could handle that a little bit better. And for me, one of the eye-opening things, my dad was always a force to be reckoned in the house, and God, I was scared to death of him, and I never wanted to be that with my kids, but I hadn't realized that that's kind of the role that I had taken, and that's kind of the place that I had grown into, not intentionally trying to, but just that was the only model of fatherhood that I had, right?
Right. Right.
Um, and I remember I had like these two wolf head statues that I had picked up. I don't know, I think I got them in Gatlinburg or something like that. And I really like those things. I'm really into gray wolves and just love those things. And I remember the boys were roughhousing, playing around the house, and one of them knocked over one of those statues, and it fell over and it broke. Um, and I remember looking at him and seeing the fear in his eyes, and I just couldn't say anything to him because that alone was, you know, I, that was all the punishment that boy needed because he was scared to death of what I was going to do. And I
Right.
didn't say anything to him. I, just told him it was an accident, and I put it away. And I never threw that statue away. I've always kept that as a reminder of that moment, just because I never wanted them to look at me in that way again. And from that point on, I made sure they didn't.
Yeah, and I think it's natural for us to react that way. It's something I think that we have to fight because we naturally feel that in control and it's my way or the highway kind of thing at that age when we're younger. And at least I did because that's how I was raised. Whatever
Yeah.
my mama said, it didn't matter if I liked it or not. You just did that, right?
Hmm.
But I my biggest thing is getting them all to get along with each other now.
Oh, I gave up on that years ago. They're going to fight. They're just going to fight. I have twin boys, and those two are mirror image of one another. but in opposites. They're what everything this one isn't, and everything that one is, the other isn't. And those two through the years, oh my God, they're at each other constantly. And their sister, one of their sisters, she got along with everybody a lot better, but their oldest sister, God, she's still even now she's just horrible with those two. Um,
Yeah.
and I struggle with that. And you beat your head against the wall, and ultimately they're going to form their own relationships. And as they mature, I'm hoping that it will come around and that they'll stop that with one another. But
Well, I think the biggest problem I have is they all seem to think they know what's best for the other one and want to tell them what they should and shouldn't be doing. And, coming from your child or my child, they're hard headed, so they don't want to hear that. And they're not going to listen to that
yeah,
kind of thing. Uh, my biggest problem, and I'll be honest with it, I have no problem talking about it. My daughter is pretty dominant. She's the oldest. She's kind of like the mama, if you want to put it that way.
yeah,
My two older boys are as man as you can get. I mean, they're tough as nails and things. The problem comes with the biggest relationship problem comes with my youngest one because he's struggling in life. And he's 19. He just turned 19. And he's unsure of his sexuality. He doesn't know what he likes or doesn't like. And of course, his brothers and sisters they don't respond very well to that, we'll put it that way,
hmm
and give him a whole lot of hell.
hmm
And I have to admit, in the beginning, I did too. Uh, it was something
it's
I never dealt with and didn't know how to deal with, if you want to put it that way.
it's something that people of our generation, it was definitely not accepted.
Right.
Um, but I've also had to learn to accept that as well. And I they're your kid. You gotta accept. You've got to let them choose their path. You have to let them
Yeah.
be who they're going to be.
That's kind of
Uh,
where I came down to is regardless of if I like what they are doing or not, I don't have to like everything they do. I don't like everything anyone does. But I love them and I'm going to support them no matter what they do.
yeah,
And that's the best thing that's the only thing we can really do in a lot of those tough situations.
sure.
Like Wiz said, you got to let people be who they are. And everyone's
Exactly.
got to find out who they are and what they are on their own. I can't do
And
it for him.
you got to support them.
Yeah,
No matter who they're going to be. You got to support them as best you know how.
100%. And I've had people help me talking to people like Elias and things like that. She was a guest on the show and different things. Some of that helped me understanding in some different things. You know, uh, but like I said, it was taboo, pure and simple. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
You know, but it doesn't make him any less my son or any less loved.
yeah,
You know, just like the rest of them. I'm going to be there every minute that I can and support him every minute that I can. In a positive manner.
yeah. There will come a day where you can't.
That's right. And I think about my mother a lot. She was a very strong individual, headstrong, super headstrong woman. Uh, and it was definitely her way or the highway kind of thing. In the end, she had COPD. She smoked Pall Mall cigarettes her entire life. Had a horrible problem breathing. Was on breathing and treatments and oxygen the last 10, 15 years of her life. Probably on hospice the last 3. And I should have been a lot more there for her. You know, I was worried about me because every time that I saw her at that point light a cigarette or something up like that, it made me feel like she was just spitting on me, that she didn't care she was killing herself.
Yeah.
And that's not what she felt. I know that, but that's what I felt. And so I kind of let my wives deal with her, honestly. My first wife and then my two boys as mother. Uh, I should have been there a lot more present for her. And that's something I don't think about until you get older. You just don't, like I said earlier, we don't realize what we're doing and how we're affecting people's lives sometimes. And as fathers, we have such a great responsibility and influence on these young people, not just our kids, but the people they hang out with. There's somebody watching all the time.
Yeah.
And, the biggest thing for me, and I did a lot of men disservice. I looked up to a lot of men trying to find that father figure in my life growing up, but had such, thinking about it now, had such undue expectations of them. I kind of expected them to be the perfect father I thought my father was, and that's not something you can do. It just doesn't work out that way.
One of the greatest things that you can give someone is the recognition that they're not perfect, right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to accept that, they can have the best of intentions, and sometimes we just screw up things. Sometimes things just don't come out the way we're trying to say them, or they don't end out the way that we envision in our minds, and we just have to learn to accept that it is what it is, and make the best of it.
Well, there's no secret book how to parent a child, because every one of them are different. All four of my children I got to deal with in different ways because they react differently to different things and how they accept things. What worked for one doesn't work for the other. And we're doing, any father and anyone who becomes a father, all that we can do is make the best decisions we can based on the information that we have. And then realize that most decisions aren't life-threatening and life-ending, and you can recover if it's a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
But is that your cousin in here, Miss Stacy Bell?
Yeah, Stacy. Yeah, she's God, we were all brought up pretty close. She and her brother and sister and I were all brought up really close. That we might as well have been brother and sister. I was always at their house, but they were always at our house. And it's 7 up there. That's my son, Caden.
Okay, hi, Caden. Well, I'm gonna leave you with this question, then we're gonna break and do commercials. It'll take about 2 to 3 minutes. We just get them all out of the way. That way, if you need to go get something or whatever you can. But Think about this. What legacy do you hope to leave for your children and future generations? And we'll address that when we get back.
All right.
Operation Deeds, Not Words 2 is dedicated to empowering and uplifting disabled veterans and first responders through unwavering support, meaningful resources, and real opportunities that honor their service and sacrifice. Our mission is to build a thriving, impactful organization driven by the shared vision, commitment, and accountability of our team, because when we work together, there is no ceiling on what we can accomplish.
We are equally committed to the growth of our team members, actively encouraging them to expand their voices, followings, and businesses as essential pillars of our mission. Being part of Operation Deeds, Not Words reflects great credit upon our members, uniting communities in the Fat Man Nation. Green Line morphs under a shared purpose rooted in service, resilience, and action-driven impact. Deeds, Not Words.
Looking to take your reptile game to the next level? Husbandry Pro is the all-in-one tool serious keepers and breeders trust. Track feeding, sheds, weight, breeding, and lineage, all in one place. Monitor your entire collection with ease, stay organized, and never miss a detail again. Whether you've got a few snakes or a full-scale operation, Husbandry Pro keeps your records dialed in and your animals thriving. And right now, you can try it. Free. Use code RIBBONSFORGE. 60 and get 60 days free. That's Husbandry Pro, built for keepers by keepers.
ReptileAds.com is the modern marketplace for buying and selling reptiles, amphibians, and exotic pets. Built by Purple Turtle Technologies, we're creating the most trusted platform in the industry. Join thousands of breeders and collectors on the most trusted reptile marketplace. List your animals, connect with buyers, and grow your business with Reptile Ads. Enjoy our easy access to stores as well as a genetic calculator for your convenience. Stop by and check us out today.
Today's episode is proudly sponsored by B&S Reptilia, a family-operated reptile business built on quality animals, responsible husbandry, and a true passion for educating and growing the reptile community. With a diverse collection of species and a commitment to animal welfare, B&S Reptilia continues to set the standard for excellence. We're also proud to feature Coco to Go and the Chipper, premium coconut-based substrates engineered for superior humidity retention, exceptional odor control, moisture absorption, and ultra-low dust performance. Whether you're keeping ball pythons, boas, or other reptiles, these substrates help create a cleaner, healthier environment. Support the companies that support reptile education and the Behind the Scales podcast. Go out today and get your Coco to Go or the I've got to get Wiz or somebody to redo that because I hate listening to myself.
Got a little cut off at the end there.
Yeah, it did.
It happens.
So what legacy do you hope to leave for your children and grandchildren and those to come?
That's a tough one. The one thing I've always tried to instill in my kids, is to take care of each other, especially my boys. I mean, they were twins. They have a bond that few people in life get to experience. And that's something that needs to be nurtured and preserved. And they have an opportunity to turn that into something amazing. And I hope that as they continue to grow, that they will maintain that bond and continue with that, because that's, that was one of the things that was important with me. Their sister, I'm really hoping she pulls it back in and isn't quite so evil to them all of her life, but she's finding her way too. It just kind of what I said. Mostly to them, there are things that I tried to instill in them. Is a sense of service. I have been in public safety all of my life. I have served every community that I've lived in through that, and I hope that they have picked up on some of that too. Honesty, in our house, if something went wrong, something got screwed up, you did something. It was one thing if you came forward and you were honest about it, but if you lied to it and I caught you in a lie, then God save you, because I'm gonna get that biscuit.
Yeah, I agree with you about that one. I don't like the lying thing at all, and it seems like it's so natural for some of them. They lie, especially as kids. They lie about some of the most simple things in the world that don't make a difference to anything.
Yeah.
And I look back, I think it was more that way for the older ones because they were more afraid of me. You know, they're afraid to disappoint me. I think sometimes we put them in a situation to where I think we forget sometimes they're kids and we expect too much. Is that possible?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's with teenagers especially, it's really hard to find that balance between mentor and disciplinarian, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you want to teach them, but one of the biggest mistakes that I have seen people make with kids, through my law enforcement career, parents, you cannot be your children's best friend
100%.
and expect them to grow to be productive citizens. Once they're older and have the maturity and the responsibility to do that. But when they're younger, you cannot do that. There has to be a separation of that. Because if you don't deal with them as a parent now, then someone like me is going to be dealing with them in a law enforcement capacity later. And
Right.
most of the individuals that I dealt with on a repetitive basis, that was the problem. Their mama didn't want to be a mama, their daddy didn't want to be a daddy or wasn't there, and they were with me. So,
Right. Yeah, definitely so. I guess someone like me who grew up without a father present,
mhm.
what advice would you offer someone in that position today about finding positive mentors and role models?
They're out there, and they're not always the coolest person to hang around with, right?
Yeah.
But I was fortunate in that my father came to my life when I was 2 years old. I also had before he came around. I had my grandfather, Stacy's dad. Were always kind of there as father figures for me as
Your
well.
mic's flaking out
Is it?
a little bit.
Is that better now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was saying, I was fortunate. I had my grandfather and Stacy's father, my Uncle Jay, was there as well as a father figure in that role for me. So that was always a bonus to me. I always had my bonus dad, right? But there are people out there who are willing to step into that role and
Yeah.
help guide you. And it's hard for you can't tell a child to find the right person to find that person who's going to mentor them in a good direction. How do they do that? How do they know? It's I don't know. I to be honest, I don't think I have a valid answer for that.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I guess the biggest thing I would say is it doesn't always have to be a male. You know, my grandmother was probably the rock in my life. When she passed, I've had a lot of loss, but when my grandmother passed, it was hard, man, because she was that rock solid in that storm of life, that day or night, no matter what happened, she was there. And if you were doing the right thing, she'd tell you. And if you weren't doing the right thing, she'd damn sure tell you that too.
Yeah.
And there was nothing. I hope this is true anyway. There was nothing fake about her. She was all real, old school. And I wish my mother had been a little bit more like her,
Mm-hmm.
But we all are different, different things happen and shape your lives. I'm sure my mother's life wasn't easy in 1970, having 3 kids and losing her husband.
No, I can't imagine.
So I know how it affected me when I lost my first wife. But in 1970, it was a whole different world. And I know that she stayed married to my stepfather because she felt like any father was better than no father. And I think back in that day that women were looked down upon as single mothers, very judgmental, especially in the Appalachian Mountains where we came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg and Greg, that's got both of us got it right.
And keep perfect timing, Kike. You want to talk about someone who has faced the struggle in the last year,
Yes, sir.
and a single parent trying to pull his kids not only through the grief of their loss, but keep them, engaged and keep them going, as well as trying to pull himself through it. My hat's off to you, brother, because I don't know that I would have the strength to do what you've been doing.
Yeah, I think both is a great man and a great father, and I respect him tremendously. The whole thing was a little personal for me because I've been through it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I tried to message him and talk to him, and I'm here. I will listen, and I understand. It's not exactly the same situation. Nothing is, but the hurt doesn't change.
No, they say it gets better. I don't believe that it gets better. I think you get used to it. I think you learn to live through it and muddle through it, and maybe choke it down, suppress it a bit. But I don't foresee that goes away.
Time does not heal wounds. It doesn't heal things like that. What happens with time is as things progress further in life, other things take up your time, and it removes every waking thought from that thought process. I guess is the best way I can say that.
Yeah, 100%.
Kind of thing. But as far as being a father, most people in general look at fathers as providers, but they're much more than a provider. What does being a father mean beyond simply providing financially?
There's so many avenues to take on that. There are so many things that are a part of it. You've got to you've Jesus. You have to be there. You have to be a teacher. You have to be a mentor. You have to be the provider. You have to be the playmate. There's all of that, and there's such a delicate balance between all of those things. The one thing that I hope that my kids see is that I tried to juggle that, and I didn't always do so well, but I gave it my all. And that's
one of the biggest things children can understand, especially teenagers. Parents make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. We're just doing the best job we can, and everything that we do, and most parents who care, is for you and to help you. What we think is going to make you a better person. There's nothing about punishing you or those kind of things. It's to install those values that we know that you need in life to succeed.
Right. Yeah. My mom, bless that woman, because, like I said, when I was, especially in my younger teen years, oh my God, I was a savage. And I acted out so badly. And she and I, God, we've fought like cats and dogs for the longest time. God love her.
And it happens, we've all seen those commercials when the kids are little, they think that the world, the sun rises and sets in us. Then it seems like the older they get, they figure out that we become dumber and dumber every year.
Yeah.
And then, I think and I've said it before, I think a child doesn't really understand the love a parent had for them until their child is born and they put eyes on that child. And I think then it can all really sink in, and they can then realize what their parents was doing and why they were going in the way they were going to try to teach you and help you.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Greg? No.
What up, Keith?
So if your children could describe you in 3 words 20 years from now, what would you hope those words would be, Greg?
Loving, fair, and firm.
Yeah.
You know, I hope that that's at least the things that I relate. But I'm sure there'll have some other words he'll throw in there. But
well, that's one day he was an asshole.
that was every day. Look, that's the one thing. Look, I do that well. I do it so well they paid me to do it for 25 years of my life.
Right. So. Well, I think that we all have that part in us, for sure. I guess for me, Greg, it would be for them to know, when I'm gone, for them to be able to say with all honesty and truth is my dad loved me.
Yeah.
And he was there for me. Nothing else matters to me.
100%.
And it's that's really important. It's important for me because I wanted to break that cycle. Because my father's father wasn't there either. Because it's one of those people talk about generational curses and family curses, and I think there's some truth to those kind of things. My grandfather died at 42 years old when my father was 4 years old. And then my father died at 42 years old when I was 4 years old. And I thought my older 2 brothers, they made it past that. So I thought for sure it was going to be me. Mm-hmm. And it ended up, losing my wife. And that was easy for me to deal with, trying to understand my children, because I knew that pain, if you will. But I didn't know how to deal with it for myself.
Well,
I was surrounded by people. I wasn't alone, but I was alone.
Yeah. But every pain that we experience in life, every struggle that we face, there's a lesson within it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe that there's a reason that lesson is being brought to you. So, and if you're able to, like in your case, you're able to take that lesson and use that to help your children to,
right,
better their path and ease their suffering. And I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing when it comes together like that. There is beauty to be found in tragedy. It might be hard to see sometimes, but it's there.
And it's hard for some people to fathom maybe, but adversity growing up is a good thing. It teaches you how to survive life later.
Yeah.
The more things that you deal with going through, and the more situations you're exposed to, is going to help you in your adulthood period, because things are going to happen. I've got, I think a lot of the young people today think because right now everything is on top of the world and they're doing great. And I'm glad for them. And I'm proud of that. But I'm also the cautionary guy in the backside saying, look, there's going to be a valley and you're going to have to walk through it. Things are not always going to be on top of the world. Things go up and things go down. And it's those climbs back up that really builds the strength, trying to overcome the valley that you're in.
And there's something that always rings in my ears in the face of everything, and that's "this too shall pass," and that stands for whether you're in a high or
Yeah.
whether you're in a low. It's my dad used to say the sun doesn't shine on the same side of dog's ass all the time, so
Right.
it's gonna roll around.
For sure. Well, I do appreciate your time today on Father's Day. I know you weren't feeling great, but I
No
thank you
worries, man.
for showing up and showing out. In
Absolutely.
closing, I do have a question, of course. If you could tell your father, your children, or all fathers one thing this Father's Day, what would it be?
Appreciate each other while you have them. Or while you have each other, appreciate each other while you have each other.
There's
Because
so much
life is
truth
fleeting.
in that statement.
Yeah.
I guess one thing that I try to preach, I don't preach to my children a lot because they don't always want to hear it, if you want to put it that way. But
Sure.
your grandfathers and your parents and things out there, they need you right now more than you need, as much as you needed them as a child. And I think we forget about our parents in a lot of ways. There's so many things you can learn from the elderly people in your family, the elderly people in your community. Go sit down and spend some time with them, talk to them, listen to the things they've been through, listen to the things that they've experienced, and listen to their wisdom.
Cool. Yeah.
Because we can't grow as humans and as a society if we don't learn from those who come before us. And especially in today, things have changed so much in your and my life and the way things are, that there's things that you and I, for say, can teach people that they would never learn any other way. Some things that I can teach them, people don't want to know, but I can take you in the woods, teach you how to track anything that's ever walked, moved, crawled through there, show you what you can eat, can't eat, what's going to kill you, what won't kill you, what will help you, what will heal you. How to catch fish, clean them, any animal out there, it's kind of things. How to sharpen a knife. I find comfort in sharpening knives. Not because I'm going to cut somebody, it's just something that my grandfather did, and I enjoyed that time with him.
They say you can judge a person's character. You can judge a man by how sharp the blade of his knife is.
Yeah.
Because, someone who is meticulous about sharpening the blade, he's meticulous about other details too. And if you get someone who's walking around with a dull blade all the time, that makes a statement in the other direction. And
I was always taught that the man always has a knife in his pocket.
Yep.
And I do, unless I go somewhere I'm not allowed to have one. I go
even then.
I've had to make a few trips back to my car.
Yeah.
But
I have seen the evil this world has to offer, and
oh yeah,
you will seldom catch me without at least a blade.
Oh yeah, I'll say I grew up in a very violent household. I tried to shoot my stepfather when I was a young man. Having been beaten beyond recognition, seeing your mother beat that way, guns pointed to your head, and the trigger pull. Whether there was anything in it, I don't know, but it didn't matter. The effect was still the same.
Mm-hmm.
You learn that you got to take care of you. And there's always a situation out there and I've done you were in law enforcement. I know you've seen some stuff, man. But I worked for Homeland Security. I worked in a lot of different places in life. And I'm the kid, I'm the guy that goes down the road and the wife's on the side of the road and her husband's beating the shit out of him. I'm the idiot that gets out and beat the shit out of him and goes to jail for beating him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. course, I never went to jail for that, but it came close.
Mhm.
But you don't know what you're going to walk into, whether it's a store or anything else. You just have to do that. You got to be vigilant. And if you don't take care, to me, tools is a big deal. Everything in my toolbox, I know where it's at. And if you get it and borrow it, it needs to go back in the same exact space. And that's just something I was taught. You take care of the things that you own and take care of your tools. And that boils down to the snake room. If you're not that kind of person to take care of that, you're not going to take care of these snakes.
Yeah.
You're not going to clean up the poo. You're not going to walk in and smell, oh my God, where's that coming from? Except I did the other day and didn't find it. But
Well, I had that as I stepped out of the shower this afternoon and walked in here to sign on. I've got to go locate whoever did whatever it is that I'm smelling now. So,
we had one regurgitate on Monday.
oh God, that's horrible.
And I smelled something when I came in the room, but I was jumping on to Carl and John's show for their 1-year anniversary of being on the podcast, and couldn't find it in the brief time. Then the wife got home, and I'm sitting here choking, but I'm keeping up a good faith and going. She comes in and starts doing it, and one of my almost adult females decided the first one I've had ever happen regurg.
Oof.
And it don't smell good.
No.
At all.
No, that's and God forbid if you miss it for a day or two.
Oh yeah.
Dude.
I mean, it was all. I mean, I know that's a gross, but it was kind of like jellifying already. It took a complete tub change. It had to be deodorized, the whole 9 yards. There was no just clean it up kind of thing.
The things that only a reptile keeper understands, right? Because
hey, you talk about that. I'm new in all of this, of course. And you know what has scared me the most in this whole process? It's not getting bit. It don't hurt. Don't bother me. Pain's, just another thing. But when you're sitting in here and you're the only human in the house, and you hear this tremendous burst of gas being passed. And it's like, wait a minute. What's going on?
And
I mean, it didn't even register that it was one of the snakes at the moment. It was like, who's here?
And it's always the smallest ones that make the most noise with it, and you're wondering how that animal that small can make that much noise.
But it's definitely crazy. How you doing, John? I'm shipping out John a couple of Mexican black king snakes. We picked up 2 pair yesterday, and one of them is going up to him.
Nice.
I figured that I needed to have 1 or 2 around for future experiences when I have something I need to dispose of. You know,
I have a California king for that very purpose, and glad I picked her up.
Yeah. Well, these 2 have had probably 4 meals now. I mean, they're itty bitty, but they're just jet black as can be, and got that sheen to them. I just love them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we drove into the guts of Alabama yesterday, through the rain-swollen rivers. It wasn't that bad, John. But it was an hour each way, but it wasn't too bad. Came back just in time I stuck them in the incubator to keep them more, because the humidity's up in there and everything, and it's warm, till I could get back that night and get them situated. But I like John a lot. He's a good young man. I hope that I can be an influence on him and be someone that he can look up to, and that's my big thing now in life. And I think people who know me that everybody sees me on these podcasts, and I'm this fun grandpa, I guess. But I was an asshole the biggest part of my life. Kind of like you said, I was good at it. And
Wow.
things change when you get older. You learn, you just become a different person. 100%. So, Greg, again, thank you, brother.
Certainly.
Thank everyone for coming out. Thank you for your time. It was important. It is important to me. And I'll stay in touch, and I'm here for anything. If you ever need a call or somebody to talk to, brother, just, I know you were talking earlier about the surgeries on your back and this and that kind of thing, and put you in a bad place. I do understand that. I've had 3 back surgeries, and it, pretty much has rendered me disabled totally. And it's not the pain. The pain is an everyday thing, and you can get used to a lot of pain. But I think that's the biggest thing as a father that I want to tell everyone is you can overcome anything. And the hardest thing that I ever had to overcome was being disabled, not physically, but mentally.
Yeah.
I think it's still that way for any generation, but in our generation, men were supposed to go to work, take care of their families, be providers, be the rock. And even with an income, not going out and doing that job every day hurts.
Oh yeah. And that was the struggle, right?
Right.
That was the hardest part, because I spent all my life, screaming down a highway at 100 miles an hour with my hair on fire.
Yeah.
With lights and siren blaring, and it took all of that from me inside of a year.
Immediately.
Yeah, and it was eye opening, and then there was the presence of the constant pain, and when you are in pain 24 hours a day, it changes you. You can overcome it, but it changes you.
100%.
And it's a hard place to pull yourself out of. That's why I tell people, these animals that I have in my house, I owe them more than I could ever give them.
Same thing here, and this community too. I mean, it may not mean a lot to some people, but the first couple of podcasts I did, I think after the one with Elias, you and John both had mentioned something about it, and that you liked what I was doing and the things like that, and the way I was taking.
Yeah,
that meant a lot to me. It encouraged me, because I was kind of, I always I'm an instant gratification guy. I want it now.
Yeah.
And
well, there's so many roads to go. It's nice to have somebody doing something different, somebody that's doing a show that isn't like all the others. And that's one thing that like you said, that I wasn't expecting when we got into the reptiles, is we found this community. I had no idea any of this existed.
Me neither.
The first time I opened up Morph Market, it blew my mind. I had no clue that was even a thing. And then to find the community that we found, I mean, one of the first communities that we found was Keys and his group and his show, and started watching that and fell in with a lot of those guys, Fred and AJ at F&A. I met John with Morpforge on another podcast that we did one night, and he and I mean, he's become one of my best friends.
Right.
And just through talking every night, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for him and Jamie and Jason. I mean, because
they're phenomenal.
Yeah, they're good people, and I need those kind of people in my life. So I'm.
And I know you guys give each other shit, but you can tell the respect that's there.
Oh, 100%. Love that guy, man. Love that guy. But that's the thing. If I'm not picking on you, then either we're not close, or I just don't like you. and
Yeah.
that's just how it is. If I'm picking on you, you know, you're one of my insiders. You're one of my good guys. But
That's been pretty much my entire life. I mean, if I'm not doing something to aggravate you or whatever, it means I'm not interested in you. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
But all right. Well, I want to thank everyone out there for showing up on Father's Day. It means a lot. The support means a lot. Uh, the wife says it a lot. These snakes in this community saved my life and saved my marriage. And I appreciate all of you, and anything that I can do, we're here for you. And everyone have a great day. I'll be backstage if you want to chat.
yeah, man. See you guys. Thanks for coming out.
Operation Deeds, Not Words 2 is dedicated to empowering and uplifting disabled veterans and first responders through unwavering support, meaningful resources, and real opportunities that honor their service and sacrifice. Our mission is to build a thriving, impactful organization driven by the shared vision, commitment, and accountability of our team, because when we work together, there is no ceiling on what we can accomplish.
We are equally committed to the growth of our team members, actively encouraging them to expand their voices, followings, and businesses as essential pillars of our mission. Being part of Operation Deeds, Not Words reflects great credit upon our members, uniting communities in the Fat Man Nation. Green Line morphs under a shared purpose rooted in service, resilience, and action-driven impact. Deeds, Not Words.